Hi everyone, this is Chandan. Today we are going to see functions and procedure in PostgreSQL, how we can write some piece of code and we can reuse that. So let's see. So first we will understand that the functions, then transactions, and then we can understand that procedure because all these sequence are it depends on that concept. Okay, so function in PostgreSQL is used to create a reusable code and it's return some return value. So here I mentioned that in the screen you can see. So to create that functions, we need to create a table. So let's see, there is no any tables present in the public schema. So by default, it is created. It will be created inside a flight table inside a public schema. So here you can see table is created, and let's insert these records inside that flight tables. So these two records are inserted, and here you can see there is one tag, one function menu. So there is no any menu, no any functions. So let's execute that and create one function to calculate annual salary. So here you can see it is created, and to see that inside a property you can see that definitions. Yeah, you can see that code. So what's happening here? It's declare that annual salary one variables, which is a type of numeric, and being an int. So salary into 12 into annual salary from employee where ID, whatever the employee ID is provided, and return that annual salary. Okay, so let's understand in the code what we written. So here is create or replace function. If that is created with the same name, that time it will replace that function, and we are passing that one variables which is a type of int employee ID and return that numeric value as, and declaring that these codes are the same as explained in that code tab, and we just need to define that what's the language we are using for that database. So here define that language. So after creating that functions, when we execute that function like that to select that, so here you can see it's return that 12-month salary for that employee. If we pass 2, so it's 50,000 into 12 is equal to 6 lakh, and when we pass 2 it should increase. So here you can see you can multiply that value into 12 and that will be a 77 lakh 20,000. Okay, so let's see what is procedure. So procedure in PostgreSQL are used to perform actions but no return values. So it's come into picture when we need to execute some dependent task or sequential task. That times we do not need any return value. So that time we can create a procedures and execute that. So the main difference is that procedures support transaction, and to understand that transaction in PostgreSQL, and there is a sequence of logical unit of work that transaction ensure that how it will be executed, and that should we execute or nothing will impact in our database. So if there is some error comes, that should we revoke all the things, and so it uh, in the transaction there is a transaction properties, atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. It is known as acid properties. Okay, so it's ensure that the changes will be happen or not happen. So there is no any chance of maybe. So transaction guarantee that the changes should be exist or not. So we cannot uh, insert that partial data and cause some error, or user side will get some error or data not found. So to ensure that transaction, there is a being commands, and then we need to end with the commit. So commit ensure that the changes will be committed, and it should not be revoked. So it's a normal command to execute to update that balance for the Alice and Bob. And let's understand that procedure. What is procedure? So as I explained, in the main difference with the functions and procedure is procedure execute the transaction which is a begin and commit. So let's see and create one procedure. So I haven't created that. So let's say to create that procedure. So to create that procedure to transfer money. Okay. So let's create that. So create or replace transfer funds. So to implement that procedure, let's create one tables like account. So I have that code and use that, which is a normal SQL statement to implement fast. So here I created one account table with the serial ID and name and balance. Okay, it is created. Let's insert records. So it is also inserted, and then I need to just implement that procedure. Okay, so I am sending a 3 argument inside that function. Sender ID as int, CIV, CIV, receiver ID as int, amount. So we need to define that language, and then we need to define that those command to update that. So we just need to ensure that that transaction should be being and end. And here I written some command, SQL command, which update that balance or inside a account table, which will be a balance minus amount, whatever the amount is dead, and whatever the sender ID and receiver ID. And we just need to end that transaction. Okay, so it will end that transaction. So here you can see, while being that transaction, we just need to provide that semicolon, so it will end that transaction, and then we can close that whatever the open language variable. So it is kind of alias for that. And when we execute that procedure, it is a complete procedure. So here you can see, to see that procedure, here is a tab. You can also see that code. Here you can see being and end. And when we execute that, to call that procedure like a normal function, we can call and it will execute, but it will not return anything. So here you can see, by updating that balance, it will not return anything. So we just need to call using call syntax, and it will update that records in the account. So just refresh that, and so sender ID is 1 and receiver ID is 2. So let's see that record. That should be a, here you can see sender ID 1 and 2. So balance is minus, and we inserted that record 10,000 and 15,000, and that record is sender ID 1. So 2,000 is minus from that Alice and 2,000 increase in the Bob. Okay. So that should be ensured that if that balance is deducted, so somewhere it will be increased. Otherwise, if my balance is deducted and there is some error and balance is not updated somewhere, that is a problem. So to ensure that that transaction, we have a seed property and we can execute that using procedure. So that's all about that function, procedure and transactions. So thank you for watching. That's all.